Hi folks, I'm thinking about the right to roam. So, sat here on this hill, sharing it with this big telegraph pole, on this piece of land that I'm accessing via a footpath. So, the right to roam was not gifted to us, it was hard fought for by past activists, and that right is being constricted, has been removed once again. I think it's something like 8% of land in this country is accessible by the public. And even then, we're talking about footpaths, so very specific guided access through a land, not open access. And I've just been sitting here on this hill today on the spring equinox, a special day, thinking about balance, a big theme of the equinox, thinking about the need to get outside. And there's obvious class connotations with the history of the right to roam and the enclosures of the land for the rich, and that's remained that way really for the last several hundred years at least. You know, from the class point of view, we're offered up, particularly those of us who live in urban places, we're offered up parks. So despite the growing evidence of the importance for natural spaces on our health and our mental health, so everybody needs access to nature, you know, what we're given in an urban environment is a park, and there's no choice there. You are shepherded around on concrete paths most of the time, and even if you go off the path, then you come across the gates, the fences, the walls, you are hemmed in. So we come to somewhere like this if we're lucky enough to be able to access it. I mean that word, you know, on multiple levels of accessibility, physically, financially, class again. Yeah, we come somewhere like this, and again, you know, despite the openness of the land, visually we are shepherded down certain routes, and in a lot of places those routes are being constrained or removed. So I mentioned the spiritual element of this. When I come here, it's a managed landscape, of course it is. It's a private landscape with some limited public access. In comparison to the parks in the town where I live, a shift happens. And that shift, for me at least, is in my perspective of myself in relation to the landscape. And perhaps it's easier for me to see this, feel this as an animist. But when I come here, my life, the scale of my life is changed as the scale of the landscape around me comes more into focus. My problems seem diminished. The things that have been distracting me, taking up my time and keeping me indoors, don't seem as important when I'm surrounded here by open fields, by trees, by other beings. There isn't that sense in a park because the scale just isn't there. So for me, coming to somewhere like this, coming to a bigger landscape, there is this shift that is good for my mental health, because it brings some much needed perspective into my life. Our hyper-individualistic capitalist society means that our lives, our concerns, our thoughts, more often than not, I think, just become so magnified that everything takes on massive importance. And to come to somewhere like this, it just tips the balance a little bit to start to be able to let in the wider world some. And it feels physically and spiritually, like I can breathe. I can get some peace and some perspective, and being surrounded by other beings, that is an important part of this. Space from people is another element of that. I was just tuning in there to the feeling of the wind on my face, and there is a heron flying. It's brought tears to my eyes. Still flying. In a place like this, I can have an embodied relationship to the land because the people are occasional. So I have mental space, physical space, literally, to be able to hear the land, hear it speaking, the wind just then, the heron. The land becomes alive, and so I'm reminded of this relationship, this reciprocal relationship between me and the earth. It doesn't happen in a park because I'm constantly surrounded by people. I've tried going to different parks at different times, trying to find the most out of the way corners, and still there is always people. And so cycling back round to class again, I think this is deliberate. For the working classes and middle classes, the landless classes, we are reminded of our place in the world by the access to land that we have, meaning that we go where we're told to go and we do what we're told to do there, and we are crushed in to these places so that we can't hear the land and we can't get away from each other. You can tell I'm an introvert, right? And the landed gentry, they have all of this. Some of them have hundreds of thousands of acres. Just think about what that looks like in relation to the spaces you have access to. Do you have a balcony flat, shared garden space, local park, somewhere like this you can come to? But what do you think that does to somebody and their sense of their place in the world and their sense of connection to the world when they own that much of it? Here's a perfect example. I come to this place for that perspective shift, for peace, for connection, and the landowner is doing something just over there. There's 2 piles of huge smoke rising. I see people in fluorescent jackets. I see big yellow machines, and quite honestly, it hurts. It hurts that I can come to this place. It is like a sanctuary for me, this hill where I do ritual, this place that I connect to again and again. I don't know what damage they will be doing to the land when I get here. I don't know how they will have restricted my access further. So even though I am temporarily allowed on sections of this land, I never know what that means and when it will be taken away or when it will be changed. Yeah, I'm angry about that. It gets in the way of that spiritual connection and the parts of that I was just talking about. It hurts my heart to see that. I don't know what they're doing, I don't know what it's for. I came to this place last year one day, and all of the trees that have been here as long as I've been coming here for over a decade, along the riverbank, which is also just over there, 95% of them were cut down. On a riverbank where trees are needed for the integrity of the soil, and there was elders that I'd foraged from, there was hazelnut that I had taken joy in seeing come into bud, see the leaves opening up each year, that I had collected symbolic hazelnuts from underneath, representing knowledge in the Celtic tradition. So, yeah, just feeling a range of feelings on this day of balance. Just letting those emotions sink down into the earth, letting the bird song come back in, as tempered as it is by the machinery I hear over there. I think this is why I romanticize prehistory, one of the many reasons, because I long bodily, mentally, spiritually, for a time when we had open, free connection to the land, when it wasn't tempered, directed, restricted, prevented. Okay, I know there were tribal societies in the past, particularly in my beloved Iron Age, so that would have had limits too. And yes, I know landowners, I guess they need to make money from their land too. That is the problem at the heart of all this. Land is not a resource to be bought, sold, profited from. The earth belongs to all of us and is our living kin. The earth, the land, everything here is my kin. And we all need to be free to be in conversation with our kin. And you know the cost of not being able to have that conversation, not knowing that we need it. Well, climate change is one of them. And the climate breakdown we're seeing right now. And this is the crux of my work and the sense of urgency that I feel about it. We all need to be able to find ways that are right for us in our lives to reconnect to the earth urgently. That might sound really woo-woo to you, and that's okay. This is my truth and my connection with the land and what it gifts me and what I try to give in return for those gifts. So, I will leave it there, but before I do, I will say, be in nature, the landscape without and or the landscape within. I'm hearing burning trees. Focus. Yeah, if you can't access the outer landscape, no one can take away our inner landscape. It's always there for us. And secondly, let's support those in struggle with the land, for the land, to reclaim this land. those groups that fight for access to nature, not just in your country but worldwide. I'll leave some links in the comments, folks. Enjoy the land.